All right, Carter, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. We will go ahead and get started. If people join in later, we can get that going. Okay. All right, so applying to grad school 101, we're going to talk kind of through a timeline. We're going to talk through components of the application and all that kind of stuff. So first up, why grad school? So, there's a lot of reasons you might want to go to grad school. Maybe you need it for your career you're pursuing. Maybe you want to explore other options within your area. Personally, I went to grad school because my profession required an advanced degree. I got my undergraduate degree in kinesiology and health, and I wanted to be a collegiate strength coach. So to get a job doing that, I needed a master's degree. So I got my master's degree in exercise science with an emphasis in strength and conditioning. So I knew this was the route I needed to take for that certain career. So that's a very popular reason to go to grad school. A lot of times it's an advancement in a current field. If you're working a certain type of job and you want to advance, you want to get a bigger paycheck, go back to school, get your master's degree. And that can open up a lot of future possibilities. So those are kind of the reasons why we go to grad school, right? But there are a lot of reasons of why not to go to grad school. And just two examples, it's not always a substitution for experience. So, if you don't really know what you want to do, maybe grad school is not the best thing just because it's expensive and it's going to take up 1, 2, maybe even 3 years of your life, depending on the program you go into. So it's not always a substitution for experience, and also it's not a way to delay the world of work. So a lot of students are like, well, I really just don't want to work, so I'm going to go to grad school. Not a great idea. A lot of times students that do that end up getting burnt out and kind of regret that decision. So we just want to make sure you have a reason you're going to grad school, and it's not just to delay work. So just like finding a job, the application process is, it's up to you. It's going to be your process. We're obviously going to help you with that process, and we will help you with those steps and walk you through it. But, we've talked about this a lot, but your professor is going to be your greatest asset. They've sent numerous people to numerous grad schools. So they have connections, so be sure to leverage that relationship with your professors. And we will just start going through the timeline. So some people start fall of junior year, but a lot of people start senior year. So if you're senior, don't panic. You're not behind. Just know that a lot of things kind of happen earlier. So just keep in mind it's a good outline, but it's not necessarily super strict. So this is just kind of a good recommendation. So starting fall of junior year, this is when you want to start scanning the landscape. So use school websites, research programs of interest. If there's a school you've always been interested in or always liked, go to that website, check it out, seek insight. So talk to your faculty, talk to your advisor, talk to other students. If you know of a student in your program that graduated last year and is now in grad school somewhere, talk to them, ask them what they're doing and how they like it. Ask what they would recommend if you have a different path than they do. And just shop around. So our graduate school fair is next Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and it's all virtual. And we have over 45 schools coming. So I highly recommend coming to that. Just even if their school you're interested in is not coming to the fair, it's great experience. You get experience kind of delivering your elevator pitch, telling people about you. And who knows, you might learn about a program that just fits with your goals, and you might just find a school you want to go to. So we just recommend to register for that through Handshake, and then you can kind of view the schools that are in attendance, and you can pick which sessions you want to go to, build your own schedule, and all through the comfort of being in your apartment or your dorm. So that's kind of fall of junior year. Moving on to the spring of your junior year, this is when you want to start reviewing the application process. So make a note of all the items and the due dates for each program of interest. So we kind of recommend at least having 3 schools you're interested in. That one you really want to go to, then maybe a backup and kind of a safety net. And we recommend either getting a piece of paper or maybe Excel sheet if you're a computer person, and write down, University A, this is the requirements, these are the deadlines, list all that out. And then University B, all the requirements, all the deadlines, University C, and so on and so forth. So that way you have it all written out, you have the due dates listed, and then put those due dates on a calendar and make sure that you're staying up to date with that. Start to investigate financial aid options. So schools, it's going to be different from school to school. They're going to offer a variety of grants, loans, fellowships, all that kind of stuff. So find out what's available for you and then get familiar with how to apply for those. And then prepare for tests. So determine what tests you'll need. Do you need to take the GRE? Do you need to take the GMAT? What do you need to take? And make sure you get those test prep materials ready to go. So moving on to summer of junior year, take required tests. So this is when you can start taking the GRE or the GMAT. Just be aware of those deadlines and the score requirements you might need, just in case you might have to take the test again. So just be aware of the score that they require. Start collecting your forms. So if you're able to print off your application form, it's a great way to feel prepared when you actually have to fill it out online. So you can see the questions ahead of time. You can begin preparing your answers, all that kind of stuff. So if you can print it off, great. Sometimes it's an online portal and you can't, but if you're able to, we recommend just printing that off. Start to investigate your target schools. So visit or speak with the admission staff. So these admission staffs, and you're going to hear me say this a million times today, but they're your biggest asset because they're at the school you want to get into, and it's their job to get students into school, right? And so they're going to be on you. They're going to be saying, hey, we need this from you. We need this from you. So they're going to help you with those deadlines and help you with that application process and help you with financial aid and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you are talking with an admissions staff. Talk to current students. If you know someone at that school, definitely message them and talk to them. Try to get in touch with the faculty, someone who's in your program, because you want to know where you're going. You have, good faculty and someone you trust and someone you like. So those are good people to talk to. Start drafting essays. So some schools will require essays. Sometimes there's a word limit, sometimes there's a prompt. So start thinking about kind of how you want to write those and what you want to talk about. And then conduct detailed research. So find out about the financial aid, scholarships, fellowships, or research assistantships. Anything that's going to help you pay for grad school is going to be super helpful, and you want to do those far in advance. And then field experience. So a lot of grad schools look for students that are involved in a lot of things. So if you're going into your senior year and you're like, wow, I really haven't done a ton, maybe now's the time to join a club or do more volunteer work. They want to see that you're well-rounded and you have time management skills and that you can handle being in grad school. So if you're able to, get involved in more things, we highly recommend doing that. So moving on to senior year, this is when most students start the grad school process, if we're being completely honest. So if you're a senior and you're like, I haven't done any of those before, you're okay. You can start here. Just know that we've got to get moving. So senior year fall, you need to start registering for tests. So some exams, they'll offer multiple test dates, and just be aware that you might have to take it twice. If you weren't happy with your score the original time, you might have to take it again. I had to take it twice. I cried after the first time I took the GRE. It was very hard, I'm not gonna lie. Line up your references. So a lot of schools will require usually 3 references. That's kind of the norm, is 3 references. So make sure you have those people in mind of who you're gonna ask for those references. And then complete and submit your application sometime in the fall semester. And then apply for financial aid. So the FAFSA will open in October. So that's when you want to start filling that out. And that's something you talk to your admissions counselor about for any additional aid that you might need. So continued in the fall of the junior year, submit your required items. So your test scores, you must request that your scores are sent directly to the school of choice. So if you have that top 3, once you take those tests, select, I want it sent to University A, B, and C. They'll automatically go to them, and that way you don't have to do it later. Your transcripts, official transcripts, they must be sent through the registrar's office, so you'll need to go through them. And confirm with your school if they want a digital or paper copy. A lot of schools will vary on that, but just make sure that you're giving them the copy of your transcript in the correct form that they want. So your letters of recommendation, submit your requests early to faculty. If you think of how busy your professors are, I would be very frustrated if someone came to me and said, hey, I need a reference letter by Friday. I would be very stressed, and they're very busy. So make sure you're respecting their time and give them at least a month in advance of say, hey, I need a reference letter by October 20th. can you write that for me? And then keep reminding them. Just be polite, but keep reminding them because they're very busy, and so just keep reminding them so they don't forget. And then any additional items. So some schools will require unique items for the application. Just make sure you're submitting everything. And that's where that admissions counselor is going to come in handy. You can call and say, hey, I've submitted this, this, and this. What else do I need? All right, so spring of senior year. So this is where you want to track your admissions decisions. Follow up with the schools. Visit the institutions of interest. If you're able to go visit the schools, we highly recommend this because that's where you're going to live for the next 1, 2, or 3 years if you're doing a face-to-face program. So if you can, visit those institutions, evaluate your options, and some schools might require an interview, so just know ahead of time that you might have to interview. So leave time for that, and that'll usually happen in the spring. And then make a decision. So compare your offers, see which is best for your goals, consider the program, the location, finances, how much is this going to cost here versus here? Compare all of those things and then make your decision. And then share your decision. So it's just kind of common courtesy to let those other schools know that you have decided on University A and that you're not going to come to their school. That way, they're not going to keep bugging you and they can kind of move on, and so can you. And then send thank you notes. This is just kind of a nice thing to do. Include those who wrote the letters of recommendation for you. So start to research housing options. So, do you want to live alone or can you afford to live alone? Do you need to find a roommate? Does the school offer graduate housing? Do they offer assistance with housing? Just kind of know that you need to know kind of what you're expecting and what you're able to afford and all that kind of stuff. And again, talk to that admissions counselor about that. And then celebrate. So share your news with us, share your news with Gardner-Webb, your family and friends, so we can celebrate with you because we love knowing where our alumni end up. And we're just so excited when you guys get into a grad school program. So make sure you celebrate and let us know. So that was kind of the general timeline. Now we're going to kind of walk through the components of the application. Each school is going to be slightly different. So be sure to write out, like I said earlier, whether it's on that sheet of paper or on an Excel sheet, write out exactly what each school needs and the deadlines and dates for each thing, and then keep in contact with that admissions counselor. These are probably the 9 most common things that you'll find on an application. Obviously the application form, 9 times out of 10 going to be online. Your transcripts, again, has to go through the registrar's office. Letters of recommendations and reference forms, entrance exams. Sometimes they'll require a personal statement or an essay, resume or cover letter. Usually it's optional, but sometimes they just like to see it. Sometimes it will be required. Financial aid forms, housing forms, and then assistantship applications. So if you need help with any of that, just obviously come to us. We will definitely help you with resume and cover letters. With those personal statements and essays, just know that we don't necessarily proofread essays here but in our office, but we can give you content tips and we will help you with that. But then we recommend taking it to the Writing Center and they'll help you proofread, and then take it to your faculty advisor and they'll help proofread. So then it's been proofread by 3 people and you can feel confident sending that in. All right. So another thing to think about, especially in the world we're living in today, is what format is right for you. So would you prefer an online format? Do you plan on living at home and saving money and just doing an online school? Or do you learn better face-to-face? Be sure to check into the schools and check into the programs and what they offer. Some schools will only offer online and some will only offer face-to-face. So just kind of make sure you're looking into each program, seeing what they offer, and deciding what's best for you. All right, so use your recruiter. Again, I know I've already said this, but they are your biggest asset in this. They will help you with every step of the process. So call them, get someone assigned to you, call the university and say, I would like a recruiter assigned to me. So that way you have that one person you contact, you have their number or their email, and you call them to ask your specific questions. Do this with each university that you're looking at. All right, so the application. So like I said, 9 times out of 10, this is going to be online. Most of the time, it's probably going to be a common application, but sometimes it's institution specific, and they may have that online portal where you can't print it off ahead of time. So note all the components needed before you start, especially if you can't save it. A lot of times they'll let you kind of save and come back, but just know ahead of time if you can't do that, so that way you're like, I have to go, I can't finish this application, then you have to start all over. And then ask your admissions counselor for an application checklist. They might have one, or there might be one online listed for the school. So just be sure to ask for that, because that is going to be so beneficial in your process. And then the deadlines, again, ask for that as well. Make sure that you're getting those deadlines, and you put them on a calendar, put them on a list somewhere so that you know you're not falling behind. All right, program prerequisites. So some programs are going to require undergraduate courses to be completed. So they're going to need an official transcript after you've graduated. This is not always it's not always the case, but a lot of times they'll need, to see everything you've completed. Just know that some schools also have a grade requirement. So usually a C is the lowest they accept. So try to strive for B or better, or consider retaking that class. And check with the school policy with overriding that first grade. Some schools want to see that first grade that you got, even if you override that grade with a different one. So just check the policy of the school you're applying to. And then if questions arise about if a course counts, you need to ask the institution you're going to. That's not a question you ask Gardner-Webb. And again, this is going to vary school to school, so just make sure you're paying attention to it. All right, so entrance exams. Most institutions will require this, but recently we're seeing a lot of schools are kind of going away from it, especially when COVID hit and a lot of testing centers were closed. So some schools might not require the GRE or the GMAT or a certain test. And some schools will have sort of a sliding scale where if your GPA is high enough, you might not have to take the GRE or might not have to take a standardized test. So just know that, just know the requirements for the school you're looking at. So the most common test is the GRE. Some programs may require a GRE subjects test, but it's not as common. And prepare well in advance for these. So go to the GRE website, look at the test prep materials, take the practice tests as many times as you can. These tests are computer-based, standardized tests. I'm not gonna lie, they're not easy. So just make sure you are preparing well in advance for these. And prepare financially. So these tests are expensive. So just know in advance you need to save money to avoid having to pay retake tests. Try to prepare as well as you can. I had to take it twice. And so just know that that's just extra money that you have to pay. And I think a lot of people do take it twice. So just be kind of aware of that. Have your scores sent automatically to your institution of choice. So avoid having to do this later and repaying for them to send it to that school. Keep a copy of your results. They're usually good for about 5 years. So the GRE and the MAT, those are general tests. The MAT is usually around $100, and then the GRE is around $200, maybe a little more. The GMAT costs about $250. That's for MBA programs, and then LSAT and MCAT are between $200 and $300. So, not super cheap. So just keep that in mind. Next is letters of recommendation. So there are different formats. Sometimes they will just request a link, and your reference just needs to click the link and basically fill in the boxes about you. Sometimes they required a sealed letter. So just kind of know what kind of option they require. And then check the type of reference. So are they requesting a professional reference or a personal or character reference? If they're requesting a professional reference, you want this to be someone who knows how you work and knows you professionally. So that could be, if you have a part-time job or a full-time job, that could be your boss. That could be your faculty advisor that's had you in multiple classes. That could be someone who oversaw your internship. There's a lot of options for that. As for someone for a personal and character reference, this is just someone who can speak to your character and what kind of person you are. And that could be your pastor. It could be another professor, just someone that knows the kind of person that you are. And make sure this person can represent you well. You don't want it to be someone who you worked with 4 years ago and they haven't really talked to you since. Make sure that it's someone who can represent you well and knows you well enough to talk highly of you. And then again, ask them at least a month in advance, whether it's via email, phone call, or in person. Just make sure you've asked a month in advance and they said, yes, I can do this, no problem. So that way you know that you have your references lined up. kind of a good rule of thumb is just to provide your references with a lot of information. So provide them with the who, what, when, where, and why. So I'm applying to these 3 schools. This is why I want to go to these programs. This is when I need this by, give them that information so they can write, so they kind of know what your plan is. Provide them the deadlines. Tell them how it should be returned. Does it need to be mailed and sealed? Does it need to be emailed? Is it a form online? So just make sure you're giving them all that information. Make it as easy as possible for your references. And then confirm how they should be submitted to the institution. Again, just tell your reference that. And then a good tip is just to provide your reference with your cover letter and your resume, because maybe your reference doesn't know everything you do outside of school, and they, help them just know how awesome you are and show them all the things you've been doing so they can write a great reference letter for you. All right, so personal essays and statements, a lot of schools will require this, and sometimes it'll be optional. So this is going to vary institution to institution, and a lot of schools don't require them. My school did not require them. Just know the requirements and adhere closely. So is there a word limit? Is there a prompt? Is there a style? If it's just a general prompt, we recommend talking about, why are you considering your specific profession? What attracts you to this program? And share your long-term goals, or maybe your research interests if that's kind of what you're going into. But sharing your long-term goals looks really good to them, because they want to know that our program is going to help you achieve this goal. And so even if your long-term goal, if they change, that's totally fine. But they want to see that you have a plan, you have goals, and that this program is vital to you reaching those goals. So proofread. I cannot say that enough. So again, you can come to us and we can help you with content, with tips about what to write about. But then, proofread it yourself, take it to the writing center, get some extra help there, and then take it to your faculty member. That way you've now had it proofread 3 times and you can feel confident about sending that in. This is kind of a test of your writing ability. So you try to make it stand out in a positive way. This is just going to demonstrate a broad knowledge of the field of your study. So what you spent the last 4 or 5 years on. Oh, and then do not use the same essay for multiple graduate applications. So a lot of people are like, oh, maybe I'll just change the name and it's kind of the same. Not a good idea. Take time to really reflect and plan out what you want to convey. Focus should remain on why you're qualified and why you want to apply to that particular program. Be authentic, use specific examples, things you have done, and then customize your essay to your audience. Like I said, don't use the same essay. Something we recommend is going to the school or program you're looking into and look at their mission statement or their vision statement. And if anything speaks to you or anything you connect with, put that in there, because they want students in their program that are gonna just flourish in their program, right? And so they want people who have that mission, have that vision. And so if you do that, they're gonna say not only you're detail oriented because you took the time to do that, but they're gonna want people that fit with their program. So additional information. So some schools will want some additional information. It could be a prerequisite completion form. It could be a background check. If you're going to work for the university in any kind of aspect, you're probably going to have to complete a background check. Resume, like I said, it's optional, but it may be required. And sometimes it's an additional way to demonstrate your abilities, and it just looks good and it shows them everything you're involved in. And then make sure your resume is just academically focused. So supplemental essays, it's important to share information up front if explanations are needed. So they could ask you to explain something like grades, and so just know that they might ask about that. And then you might have to do a teaching statement if you're going into an education program. Just be aware of that additional information. And again, that's going to come from that admissions counselor, and they can help you with that information. So a graduate resume. So resumes provide an opportunity to demonstrate how well-rounded you are. It shows all of your experience, all of your skills. Most of the time it's optional, but it may be required. And we want it to be academically focused. So give detail about your academic experience. Did you go to any conferences? Have you done any really big presentations? Any research? Talk about your involvement on campus. What clubs, organizations are you involved in? It's just another example of your writing ability, and make sure it's customized to the field of study in your graduate institution. So again, like I said earlier, look at that mission and the vision of the program you're going into and pull some things from that that really speak to you, or maybe maybe they talk about they want to see passion, and that's something that you really feel passionate about what you're doing. Definitely put that in there, talk about that. All right, so curriculum vitae. So this is more than a resume. This is for a lot of grad schools might want this, and this will be kind of required if you want to teach or do research. The curriculum vitae is very important for this. It's more academic than a resume. So we do a workshop on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you want a template, you can email us for it, but I'm just going to walk through kind of what the section headings for curriculum vitae would be, but we won't go into too much detail. So on your curriculum vitae, this would be your name and contact, your education, and put that at the top, because as a student, that is your #1 selling point. You want to show your education. Research, have you done any research? Put your thesis title, any academic honors, distinctions, research teaching experience, professional experience, service involvement. Have you done any volunteer work, any publications or presentations? And then make sure to omit sections with no content. You don't need to put the heading and then not put anything under it. And then some additional headings, so skills and knowledge. So you want to put technical, hard, and soft skills. So technical skills, that's like Microsoft Office, Canva, Adobe, etc. The hard skills are going to be related to specific technical knowledge and training, such as computer programming, typing speed, writing, reading, etc. And then soft skills are personality traits. So that's going to be like communication, flexibility, teamwork, time management. So you want to include all of those skills. Are you associated with any professional associations? Do you have any leadership activities? Any professional service, research interests, areas of expertise, and any certifications, and then list your references. So that's kind of a curriculum vitae. You can just see it's just a little bit more in depth than a resume, and it's just a little bit more academically focused. All right, so paying for grad school, this is the big question. Make sure you talk to your admissions counselor and get the cost directly from them, or get it in writing, because a lot of times online isn't correct. So I just wouldn't trust what you see online. Make sure you talk to someone, or you get something sent to you that is official. Ask if there's a cost difference between in-state versus out-of-state. Private versus public, there's obviously going to be a cost difference. And consider the program you're applying to when cost is involved. Budget for out-of-pocket expenses like books, housing, living expenses, and then tuition is typically charged by the credit hour. So be sure when you're reading through that, that you know it's usually per credit hour. So just comparing two MBA programs, obviously Gardner-Webb, so our traditional program is $483 per credit hour, and then our 10-month is $665 per credit hour. So that's under $20,000. So that's kind of something that Gardner-Webb has marketed big, as just being under $20,000, which is really good. So it's a 10-month program and it's online. And so the application requirements is a completed application, which with a $40 fee. Official transcript, you can mail it or send it electronically. GRE scores or MAT scores, and then 3 professional references. So that's what Gardner-Webb requires for grad school for an MBA. Now UNC, for their MBA, their cost is $125,000. So they have a 62 credit program. It's a full-time program, so it's obviously a little different. It's a little longer. Their application requirements are a completed application with a $150 fee, a resume, an official transcript, GRE scores or GMAT scores, 2 required essays and 1 is optional, 3 professional references, and then an interview. So you can just kind of see within 2 schools within the same state how different the applications are, the cost, difference in online versus full-time. So just know that there are so many options out there, and so just be aware of the differences, and again, make those lists. I can't express that enough. Just make those lists. So financial aid and loans, they're going to work differently for grad school. Loans are going to be huge here. If you're not getting grad school paid for in any way, you're probably going to have to take out loans. So make sure you're talking to the financial aid at the school you're applying to and getting information straight from the source. Don't trust online. Just talk directly with them. Also know that students are considered independent on the FAFSA. So parent loans are not available, and there are fewer scholarships and grant options, and they're pretty competitive too. And the types of aid is going to vary. So only subsidized loans are available for grad school. But just know that deferment of undergraduate loans, if you had to take out loans for undergrad, that deferment of those is possible when you're in grad school. And your financial aid package is going to look different than it did at undergrad. So just be aware of that. If you want to learn more, visit studentloans.gov and then talk to that admissions counselor and make sure you've talked to the financial aid at that institution. All right, grants and scholarships. So investigate these options early. Application processes may be separate than the financial aid process. So just know that that might be a different process and it might take some extra time. There might be departmental scholarships or fellowships, so check with your department. They're going to be competitive, so just know, just getting in ahead of time, talk to the admissions counselor and try to get on those as soon as possible. If you work for the university, so obviously a graduate assistantship or a teaching and research assistantship, we recommend trying to focus on those because you're going to get your school paid for in some way. So at Gardner-Webb as a GA, you get your school completely paid for and you get about a $500 monthly stipend. So that's not bad for being in grad school. In a lot of schools, it may be the same or it may be better. So just really try to go after those and ask what's available. All right, so again, step one is consult with your faculty. This matters most. They're going to be your biggest resource. So make sure you connect with them. And then step two is talking to that admissions counselor. So talk to the schools you're interested in. Make sure you're leveraging those relationships and getting the best, the best information you can. So I'm going to leave some time for questions if anyone has any, but if I can't answer your questions, again, your questions are going to be answered by your faculty advisor or the school you're interested in. It's their job to get you into school. They're going to be willing to help you. I will be sending out the PowerPoint. So if you want these slides, I can send you those. And also I'll send you the link to our online module, our graduate school module. It'll take about 10 minutes to go through. It's kind of got some information from the PowerPoint, but it has a little bit more in-depth stuff too. So that might be good to look at. And then also we're going to send a quick survey to answer some questions just to help us better our workshops. It's about 6 questions. So if you can answer that, that would be great. And that is the end of the workshop. Do you have any questions?
I don't. I think you covered everything quite well.
Good. Okay, that's good to know. All right. Well, if you